Peace and good morning to you. It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. I just want to say good morning. I feel like I'm kind of running a little bit late. I am, but not really. Um, yeah, transparent moment. Yeah, just a little transparent moment. But like always, we will always start in the spirit of gratitude, in the spirit of thank you, in the spirit of peace, all that good stuff. Good morning, Miss Teresa. How are you? Um, I'm happy to see you here this morning because that means I know that you're alive and well, unless somebody got the password to your Facebook and it's not you. But being that I know it is you, I appreciate you for being here. Okay, LinkedIn user, divine timing. It's all about divine timing. Always, because a lot of time we're not working on our time because we don't know how long we have left. But when you actually understand that you work in timing and not time, that sounds like a conversation. When you're working in timing and not by time, I think we'll probably get a lot more things done because we're working in timing. Like this is in timing. Like if this is your year, then you're operating in timing. The things that you have been working on or working towards will actually manifest and materialize in timing. All right, that's enough on that. Um, I don't know. I might have to use that a little bit. So I appreciate you for giving me that little thing in LinkedIn user because that's all it says is LinkedIn user. So thank you. You're going to get gratitude. You're going to get appreciation. You're going to get that right here in the morning. That consistency is currency. We're going to be talking about. Let me go ahead and put the caption up. It's a question. A question that I want you to answer. Like, are you able to forgive? Like, are you able to forgive? That is a question that only those who either have been there before or that person who is there right now or the person who just accomplished it who can answer that question directly. Like, are you able to forgive? That's a question. If you're not or you're working on it, say that. And if you refuse to, I I I can't say I get it, but I can say I appreciate the transparency. Just like Miss Teresa, I appreciate you, ma'am. You said still working on it. So I acknowledge your efforts because forgiveness is true effort. It is not something that happens just like that. It is something that you have to put forth an effort in order for you to accomplish it. Okay, Miss Robinson, she says working through it. My mother lies to me for 40 years about my origin. Okay, we're going to be tapping into that. I want you to make sure you pay attention, Miss Robinson. So there's going to be something that you can utilize today. So what I want you to do right now is, like, for those that are watching, I want you to take this live and I want you to share it, put it in a timeline, put it on your timeline, or put it in the group, because we're going to be examining and exposing things. Or I don't want to use the word exposing because sometimes that can kind of have a negative connotation. We're going to be examining things and taking an introspective uh, position, like introspective, like you internally looking at what you do. Because what I like to do on this platform, of course, is to only look at it from an introspective way, because we don't want to have fingers being pointed, because I'd rather have those fingers that are being pointed at you, just because you're doing a self-examination. Because when you do a self-examination, you begin a process of healing. Then what happens is you can learn how to duplicate that process, because there's always something that you're going to be dealing with, whether it is a right now dealing or a dealing that is going to take place in the near future. But what you do with it and about it right now is just going to strengthen the you that you are. Peace. Good morning, Miss Antoinette. All right, so I want to start like early, because it's not going to go long, but it's going to be a blessing to those uh, who stand here in the gap in this timing that we're doing right now. All right, so for those who may be new to the platform, you're going to get definitions, and we do have some etymologies today. And I think the etymology is really going to bring and shed some light into how we see some things. So what I want you to do right now is put in the word for giving. Put that in the chat. I'm gonna give you an either or. Put forgiveness in the chat, or put forgiving in the chat. Whichever one you're at right now, you're either at your forgiving stance, or you're still at forgiveness. That means you're still trying to wrap your head around, like, what is this forgiveness thing? Like, I'm not there yet, so I need to be working on forgiveness. Forgiving means that you've accomplished it. You've done it once. You have actually walked through that door and have walked through the threshold of what forgiveness is to you. So now, because you have accomplished forgiveness, now forgiving takes place because you've done it before and you can action it again. So that's the difference between, like, where you are right now. You're either at the forgiveness because you're learning, or you want to learn, or you have learned and you have accomplished, and you're in the timing. We'll use Miss Robinson word. We're in the timing of forgiving. Oh, that might be tomorrow. Let me write that down. Somebody put timing of forgiving, because forgiving is a timing thing. Yeah, that's gonna be tomorrow. Yeah, somebody put that in there so I won't forget. For some reason, my pen is acting a donkey. So put timing for forgiving, because forgiving it is a timing thing. All right, so let's go ahead and jump. So you're going to get definitions of words, etymologies. In the definition itself, there will either be an inversion of red over white. If it's red over white, pay attention to the words that are in red. If it's white over red, pay attention to those words that are in white. As you can see, this one has no inversion, because this one, it is what it is, all of it. There's no inversion that is needed in this definition. So let's go ahead and read it. Like always, this is interactive. So as you see things, you can then comment and communicate about it, because I want you to be able to tap into someone else's process of forgiving, especially if you have already gone through the levels of forgiveness and you have transitioned into the act of forgiving. So if you've already accomplished that once and you're in that forgiving act or action, put that and express that, because forgiveness could be a bitter pill. But forgiving, that means you've swallowed that pill already. You know what it tastes like. You know what it feels like. You know what the anxieties that comes along with figuring out what forgiveness is to you and for you. Right? All right. So the first definition of forgiving is stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. I think a lot of times we don't forgive because we're looking at what everybody else's flaw is, as opposed to acknowledging our flaws. Again, I'm just getting it from the definition. These are things that you can see for yourself, but then when you examine it, that's where the introspective or the self-assessment comes in, and we'll get into that. So again, the definition is stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. Like, it takes work, because stopping takes work, just like a car, right? To stop a car, you have to do what? Press on the brake. And after you press on, no, let me back up. To stop a car takes what? A decision. Right? It takes a decision. You don't just press the gas, but you automatically make a decision that I am going to stop. If I don't stop, then whatever happens after I am no longer committed to stopping, it becomes my responsibility. If I smash through the back of a car by not making this decision to stop, then therefore that ticket should have my name all over it. I am guilty as charged because I did not make that decision. That will what? That could possibly save a life. Forgiveness is a life-saving action. It is a life-saving action because, again, it is the decision to stop so there won't have to be an impact that becomes detrimental, not just to the driver, but an impact that becomes detrimental to also the occupant of the vehicle that's in front. Like, what vehicle are you driving at? Like, do your brakes need to be checked? Like, maybe you need to check yourself. Forgiveness is an internal checker. Like, can I check me when I know that I'm wrong? Can I check me when I know that there is a flaw that I need to pay attention to because I don't want to forgive? It's offensive for you not to want to forgive. Again, I'm just looking at the definition. It's right here for you. Not wanting to forgive is an offense to the legacy that you're trying to build for yourself, or a legacy that you're trying to build for a community, or a legacy that you're trying to build for your children. It is very offensive because what happens, you carry that over. That becomes the inherited disease of the inability to forgive. Your children pays for that. And your children's children pay for that. And until you begin to understand that if I'm going to heal, there is something that I'm going to have to examine for myself if there is ever going to be some healing that takes place. I don't want to look at your flaws. I just want to look at where I am. Because if I look at where I am, I can see my flaws, and I don't have to stay on those flaws that I know that I have, but I can move forward from them because I am committed to changing. I acknowledge that I've made a mistake when I didn't want to forgive you. I acknowledge that I have resented you for far too long. So therefore, I don't want to be offensive to the future me, or I don't want to be offensive to my future generation. So let me learn how to forgive you at this moment because I don't want to continue to make this mistake. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be uh, cursed. I don't want my legacy to fulfill the family trauma that has always been here. Because if I continue, I'm just fulfilling what grandma did. I'm just fulfilling what old uncle did. I'm just fulfilling what used to be in the past. I'm fulfilling everybody that said that we weren't going to make it because I allowed it to become true because I wasn't convicted enough to make a change. Mm. All right, that's just the first definition. Let me keep going. All right, so the second definition. Man, if y'all haven't share this and put the word done. We're gonna be accountable this morning. I want to see the word done. If you don't put the word done, that's probably why you haven't forgiven in your own natural life because you don't even know how to follow instructions. Hey, that's just how it came out. If that hurt, your inability to forgive is hurting more than you saying that what I said is offensive. All right. The second definition of forgiveness, it says a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or revenge towards a person or a group. See, I wanted to say it real happy before I really put 2 feet on its neck. A conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or revenge towards a person or a group. And the inversion on this is white over red. A conscious, deliberate decision. That's forgiving. Like, I think we've been deliberate with not healing for far too long. We've been deliberate with not forgiving for far too long because you want to stand on what you're considering as principles. Man, I'm standing on my principle. I'm 10 toes. Man, stop. Stop being 10 toes down and put your 10 toes up and forgive and begin the process of forgiving. It is a deliberate decision. Just like the analogy of the brakes, it is a deliberate decision to deliberately press the brake in order for the vehicle to slow down and to stop. Because if not, you will continue that process. You will hit the car in front of you. The car in front of the car that you hit can hit the car in front of that. That's the effects of not forgiving, because it will affect your children. Your children will then hit their child, and that child would then hit the other child, because now you have a 10 car pileup of 10 generations of inability to forgive. Only if that one car had made a conscious, deliberate decision to stop, or made a decision to actually got up in the morning. Like, it goes back even further than that. Peel that onion back. Like, how many deliberate decisions that could have been made that could have prevented what just happened? Like, can you release? Again, examining the definition. Can you release that feeling of resentment? Because if not, it can be even more detrimental tomorrow than it has been for you today. You got vengeful, and you also have like you want to get revenge because, oh, I'm gonna get that back. Like, for what? Like, what does it serve you? Like, how has it served you purpose lately? Like, what conscious decision that you need to make that is going to allow you to learn how to not just forgive, but actually transition you into forgiving. That means that is something that continues to happen because you learn how to do it. Forgiving is the action and the activity of forgive. It is a conscious and deliberate decision. Just like you can consciously and deliberately refuse to forgive someone. So the anxieties that come along with it, that is what happens to the conscious decision that you make. The nausea that comes along with that, that is a byproduct of you refusing and consciously refusing to forgive. Like, oh, my pressure's up. When I see you, you make my blood boil. Well, okay. Now, you know that is a byproduct of your emotional state. That is a deliberate decision that you made to not forgive. But just imagine what happens when you release it. Now, you're not going to forget it. I get that. Trust and believe. We're all adults and we understand what remembering is. But remembering is not resentment. Remembering is understanding that it happened. Resentment is the emotion that gets attached to it when you deliberately make a decision to not forgive. All right, so the next definition, no, this goes into the etymology, and I want you to pay attention to this because this etymology really begins to tap in to forgiving. And I want you to pay attention to it because it says the etymology of forgiving is Old English. I am not going to chew that word up. Forgive, forgive fan, I don't know, whatever it is, but pay attention to the words that are in red. It says give, it says grant, it says allow, it says remit, and a debt. Now, what I want you to pay attention to, forgiveness and forgiving is paying a debt. Right? It's paying a debt. Again, the definitions are all here. The etymology of it is all here. But I want you to look at it. Every word that you see right now is plugging into the legacy that you're going to live by just making one decision. It says give, it says grant, it says allow, it says remit. The remittance is really that of a debt. Like, how and when are you going to put the debts that you don't pay is based off of you and you having the inability to forgive. Like, don't you know that you grant the future you a much better path and a direction just by committing to the opportunity to forgive? Like, you grant your children to have much more happier times when you're in the room with their daddy, or happier times when you're in the room with their mother, because you have forgiven. You've granted the happiness, you've granted the smile, you've granted the moments because you made a decision to forgive. Man, when I read this etymology, it just opened up so much that I didn't know, or that I didn't, or I was not exposed to what forgiveness is. Because your inability to forgive is a debt. Like, you're placing a debt on your bloodline and your lifeline because you don't want to forgive. And who pays for that debt? Everybody. Your children pays for that debt. Your grandchildren pays for that debt. Hell, the people that surround you, that's in the room when the when the air is thick and they know that something is not right in the room, everybody is paying for that debt. So when are you going to know? When are you going to have a paid in full level of forgiveness? You got to give yourself the opportunity. And like I said earlier in the week, reconcile with 2022. Reconcile with it. Because when you reconcile with 2022, that's you forgiving you. That's not you holding yourself for ransom because of something you said that you was going to do, or holding that person for ransom because of something they said or something they did. Pay the debt forward and allow that to be the door that releases you, that can put you in more rooms that you're supposed to be in, but you don't want to grant yourself the ability to be free because you want to hold on to that debt. That debt doesn't do you any good. You can't acquire anything with it. Like, put it in this terms. If you have a lot of debt, your debt to income ratio, you would get more declines and disapprovals with the things that you want the most. So why do you feel that in forgiveness, or the act of forgiveness, being that it is a debt that you carry, how do you have room for happiness if you're carrying that debt or that load that prevents you to have the ability to be even free? You can't be debt free and not forgive at the same time. You got to forgive yourself when you was young of spending credit cards like crazy. Like, you got to forgive yourself when you was young, like when you told your mom I hate you, or you told your father I hate you, or you hated on your brother and your sister, whatever had happened to you in the past. Man, I've never been involved or dealt with any type of um you know things happening to me as a child. I've never been in that world. That's not a world that I've been in. But the world that we've all been in is forgiveness. But what do you do when you're in that room? All right, I'm gonna leave that alone. So let's go into forward, and I want you, like, take from what you previously seen and then mold it into what you're about to see with forward. So forward in a direction that one is facing or traveling towards the front. I don't know where the T is, but cool. We all know that T is there. We're going to say the T. It's like Django. The D is silent. Front. The T is going to be silent today in front. So in a direction that one is facing or traveling towards the front. So the inversion I want you to pay attention to is white over red, is in the direction that one is facing, because forward is a direction. It's a direction. It's something that progressively moves in a direction. So if you're ever going to have some sort of forgiving forward, that means you're going to have to begin to move in a direction if you're ever going to face the fear or to face it head on. Because you can turn around and run the opposite direction. But it's really not going to be beneficial, not for you. I mean, it may be beneficial for the moment, but it has long-term effects. Right? It has long-term effects in the direction that one is facing. If I want to face my fears, I must face my fears. I must face the direction of where the fear is. If I am ever going to forgive myself, then I must face myself. I must look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what? I need to learn how to forgive me. Yes, I have not always made great decisions. Yes, I have not always sabotaged myself. So therefore, I can forgive myself more when I did sabotage myself, because I can talk to me. Like, I can face myself in a mirror and communicate and look at it from an introspective way. In the same way that you can have those conversations with yourself, you can prepare yourself to have those conversations with somebody else. Oh, it's easier said than done. Yeah, it could be. But after you've said that, what decision did you make in the direction that one is facing? All right. So the next definition is onward, so as to make progress towards a successful conclusion. Onward, so that it makes progress. Now, this can go either way, and I want to get past this one so we can go into the deep dive and then close it out. So it says onward so as to make progress. So onward is progressively moving while making a conscious effort in what you're doing. Because if I have come to a conclusion that my inability to forgive has not served a purpose, then I must move onward and to continue that process of doing it over and over again. That's where it goes into forgiving, like continually doing it. Forgiveness is I'm still learning. So now let's go into the process of the deep dive, and forgiving forward is an internal examination. I'm gonna say that again. Forgiving forward is an internal examination. Like, forgiveness or forgiving is a combination. It's like a four-word combination: conviction, accountability, mercy, and grace. It's a four-word combo: conviction, accountability, mercy, and grace. Just like Ms. Robinson said, she's having a hard time forgiving her mom because she has lied to her for over 40 years. Like, there has to be a level of conviction there, because the 40 years of her lying to you is not going to be the 40 years that you're going to tear down a legacy. Now you can forgive internally, but then the process of forgiving takes place after the conviction, because mom might not be convicted enough yet. I don't know. But then there's accountability factor and a mercy and a grace factor that goes, because now there's three acts of forgiving forward. Because the three acts of forgiving forward, one is an assessment, two is accountability, three is a decision. Because within your assessment, there is a level of conviction that takes place. Because if I'm ever going to forgive you, then I must have an internal conviction to forgive myself. I forgive myself for hating you. I forgive myself for talking down to you even when you wasn't around. I forgive myself from talking down to you even in your face. I have to be convicted enough in myself to talk to myself, to heal myself, if I'm ever going to think that there is going to be a level of healing that we are going to share. My internal convictions built up that level of transparency in that assessment, telling you that it's okay to forgive yourself. That's where you are now accountable for you. Like, I can't be accountable for somebody else's response, but I can be accountable for how I respond to it. Or I can be accountable in how I respond to what you say to me or what you didn't say to me, because the overall decision really begins the ultimate process of moving in a progressive manner. Because to me, I think like the older I get, the more I realize that forgiveness is really one of the most selfless acts that I could do. Like for real, like forgiveness could be a very selfless act, because forgiveness is an accomplishment. Forgiving is an accomplishment. And forgiving forward is a decision that leads to healing, because it's that introspective space of progressively owning up to your own thoughts and feelings while moving forward. Like, while moving on a decision, while moving away from an unhealthy emotion, while moving away from an unhealthy thought. Like, ask yourself, how is my unforgiveness serving its purpose to the future me? And if you can answer that to say, like, it's not serving any purpose to the future me, so why carry that load? Why carry that weight? Because your inability to forgive is really impeding on your journey. It's really impeding on you reaching your destination. Because when you procrastinate in forgiving, it really transitions to one of your biggest obstacles. Like for real, when you're procrastinating on on the act or the art or the process or the actions of forgiving, it really transitions to one of your biggest obstacles. Like, I can't talk to you. That's an obstacle. Like, when are you willing to transition from that bitter, procrastinating, stagnant, stubborn, and prideful uh, way that you have into forgiveness that really moves you closer to healing? Just by forgiving forward. Forgiving forward is legacy building. That's the walking away from the old family traumas into the conversation of healing and direction. Like, are you willing to go into that? And when you're willing to go into that, what that does, it really begins to open more doors to allow you to to feel more comfortable with having more conversations. It can possibly allow you to be able to unpack more. and be comfortable enough to know that it is healthy. Forgiveness is healthy. Forgiving is healthy. Like, do you want to carry that weight and find yourself crying like you don't know why you're crying? You know why you're crying because it still hurts. Forgive forward. That is a process that is very selfless because it helps more people than just you. Because there's someone that is waiting for you to forgive that person, but that thing that they may receive won't happen until you forgive. Your journey, your destination may be waiting on whatever it is and whoever it is that you are supposed to forgive. And when you find what that is and who that is and why that is, take that assessment first. Then look at it from a level of accountability. Then make that decision. So that's the 3 steps of forgiving forward. 1 is assessment. 2 is accountability. And 3 is a decision. All right. All right. Man, y'all be blessed. You know, I appreciate you. Um, I forgot what I said I was gonna do tomorrow. I'll look through the comments. I think I seen somebody do it. I'll look through the comments and that'll be tomorrow's conversation, what we're gonna be talking about and communicating and discussing. But I definitely thank you for being here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. My goal this year is definitely to grow that YouTube channel because I know I put out healthy content. You know, I know that. And what I want you to do is, I mean, yeah, it's cool to watch, on Facebook, but I would definitely much rather you watch it on YouTube, comment on YouTube and stuff like that. So if you catch me here on Facebook, cool, but you're seeing me now. I would much rather you see me on YouTube so we can grow that together, just so we can be more of a blessing to a lot more people overall. Right? Cool. Is that fair? I think it's fair. So I thank y'all for being here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Y'all be blessed. Peace.